Hello everyone, welcome to our sports news channel. Here you are always well informed. I ask you to subscribe and leave your like. Thanks. Grading all of the biggest free agent signings. The NFL's annual game of musical chairs is underway as the legal tampering period kicked off on Monday afternoon. This is really the unofficial start of free agency, as teams are allowed to contact upcoming free agents and negotiate contract terms leading up to the start of the new league year, when these deals can become official on March 15th. On Monday, we saw arguably the biggest defensive free agent come off the board as former Eagles defensive tackle Javon Hargrave inked a monster deal with the San Francisco 49ers, who are now even more dangerous on the defensive side of the ball. Speaking of the Niners, their former quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, agreed to join the Raiders, reuniting with Josh McDaniels. Meanwhile, Denver solidified its offensive line with the addition of right tackle Mike McGlinchey and guard Ben Powers. And the madness is just getting started. Below you'll find grades for each deal that's been agreed to involving the top 100 free agents, according to CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco. Jimmy Garoppolo lands in Sin City. The Raiders have found their Derek Carr replacement, inking Garoppolo to a reported 3-year deal worth $67.5 million and includes $34 million guaranteed. Of course, Garoppolo does have a relationship with head coach Josh McDaniels, who was his offensive coordinator during their shared days in New England together. So, there's familiarity between these two sides. Garoppolo is a slight upgrade over Carr, but the big concern will be whether or not he can remain healthy. If he can, he could have the Raiders in playoff contention in the AFC. Meanwhile, the short-term deal does still leave the possibility open for Las Vegas, who owns the number 7 pick at the NFL draft, to draft and develop a quarterback behind Garoppolo, which is interesting. 49ers load up with Hargrave. It didn't seem possible for San Francisco's defense to get scarier, and then they went out and signed arguably the best defensive player on the free agent market in Javon Hargrave. The former Eagles defensive tackle cashed in on a 4-year, $84 million deal to join the 49ers and create one of the more feared defensive lines in the league. Hargrave is coming off a 2022 season where he had 11 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 16 quarterback hits, all while primarily playing on the interior. He'll now situate himself next to Arik Armstead and Javon Kinlaw, while Nick Bosa works off the edge. Broncos bolster O-line. The Broncos made 2 major moves in solidifying the offensive line in front of Russell Wilson, and were combining them here for grading purposes. Denver first agreed to terms on a 4-year, $52 million deal with guard Ben Powers and then inked one of the top offensive tackles on the market in Mike McGlinchey to a 5-year, $87.5 million contract. Guard and right tackle were 2 massive needs for the Broncos entering this offseason after a 2022 season where Wilson was sacked 55 times, which was tied for the most in the NFL. Now, they've just solved both of them in the blink of an eye. Bears bring aboard Edwards. Chicago is expected to be a major player in free agency and made its first strike by signing former Eagles linebacker T.J. Edwards to a 3-year, $19.5 million deal. The Bears' defense needs improvement wherever it can get it, and Edwards is someone who can slot in off the ball in the middle of the defense. There's also some familiarity with Edwards, as Chicago assistant GM Ian Cunningham was a former Eagles executive when he signed with the team in 2019. Patriots retain Jonathan Jones. New England addressed one of its key in-house free agents at the start of the legal tampering period, retaining cornerback Jonathan Jones. He inked a 2-year, $20 million deal with $13 million guaranteed. Jones had made it quite clear that he wanted to remain in New England, so this was his preferred outcome while the Patriots retain a versatile piece of their secondary. Jones primarily came up as a slot corner, but moved to the outside and played well in that role in 2022. Lions address secondary with Sutton. Detroit had one of the worst defenses in the league last year, so diving into free agency to help fix that was an expected outcome. Their first move in trying to bolster that group was signing former Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton to a 3-year, $33 million deal that includes $22.5 million fully guaranteed. Sutton is coming off the best season of his career in 2022, where he totaled 15 pass breakups and 3 interceptions. He also held opposing quarterbacks to a 65.3 passer rating, which was a dramatic improvement from the 104.9 passer rating he surrendered in 2021. If the Lions are getting the 2022 player, he should be a big help to their secondary.